Good morning, or good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's live, the Duchenne Method live every Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. I do these lives to invite you into a topic that is related to mind body alignment. And essentially, these lives are to really my goal is to demystify the mind body connection, and the hope is that you might be able to integrate some of these tools into your life to attain optimal health, mind, body, spirit, and emotion. And the Duchenne method is very simply um, me inviting you into considering how to become more aware, acknowledging yourself and others on a daily basis, to engage with yourself and others on a daily basis, and also how to support one another on a daily basis. So, welcome. This week, we're talking about love and your spiritual life. And for me, those two are intricately linked. Good morning, everyone who's here. You can drop a little chat if you want. Say good morning. Let me know you're here. Let me know who's here as I check my different technological equipment to see who's here with us this morning. So, welcome, welcome. And we're going to dive right into this week's topic. So, what is this week? This week is love and your spiritual life. We are doing 4 sessions this month as a year end review. And so last week we talked about health, your overall health. I talked about good morning, Jenny. Hi, honey. Nice to see you here. Good morning. Good morning. So last week was the first of the 4 topics for December as a year-end review, right? To really look back and see what worked for you in 2022, what didn't work for you in 2022, and what might you want to improve, expand upon, increase, make better in 2023. There's always an opportunity to tweak ourselves. And so last week we talked about health. We talked about specifically the vagus nerve and how the vagus nerve is super important in regulating your nervous system. This week, we're talking about love and your spiritual life, 2 topics that I feel are intricately linked to one another in order to have a lot of love in our lives, whether it's personal love, whether it's relationship love, whether it's just love in general about life, being in love with our lives. I do believe that there is a spiritual connection to that. And by spirit, I mean nature, I mean the universe, I mean God, whatever it is that works for you, that's what I'm talking about. How do we integrate more love in our lives? By connecting to something that evokes a sense of connection, of spiritual connection for us. That's this week. Next week is going to be on finances. And then the final week of December, we're going to do a little kind of hodgepodge. We'll do a little bit of a mind mapping together of what you might want 2023 to look like. So as we go through these every week, see if you can take some notes for yourself. What are some areas that you might want to improve upon in 2023? And I really suggest and invite you to consider bite sizes, not huge things, small daily steps. For example, many of you who are on this call, and if those of you who are on this call and don't know about this, you can join us at the Duchenne Method Facebook group page. It's a private page. You have to request to be invited in. And what we're doing there every day is we're writing down our gratitudes. We are doing a 12-month experiment. We started in November, and we're doing a 12-month experiment to see what changes in our lives, in our minds, in our bodies when we take the time to write down 5 simple gratitudes per day. And they could be gratitudes or appreciations, either one. And to take some intentional time to do this, right? Because for you to come on the Facebook group page, to pause for a moment and to write 5 gratitudes every single day, well, you have to rewire your brain a little bit because you have to focus on that intention every single day. And doing that is actually what gets us into new patterns in life, into new neural pathways. And why is that important is because good morning, good morning. Sophia is here. Awesome. Welcome. Who else is here? Say hello in the chat. Say hello in the chat. I love to see who's here. So we got Jenny, we have Sophia, we have others who are not saying anything, but if you want to, I would love to see you. So why do I do these every week? Why is this important? Why do we want to write our daily gratitudes? Why do we want to do it in community? Because when the proverbial SHIT hits the fan, right? When things don't go well in your life, how can you move through life with sanity so that you don't lose all pieces of yourselves? And if there is anyone here who has ever been through a rough time, anybody been through a rough time? Give me a 1 in the posts, in the comments rather, if you've ever had a rough time with something in your life, right? That's a pretty universal piece. So what I'm doing here with the Duchenne method, the acknowledgement, engagement, and support system that I'm inviting mind, body, spirit, and emotion is for us to become increasingly resilient through kindness and compassion when we are going through a rough time. Does that make sense? Thank you. I got some ones. Yes. Hello, hello, Pranjal. Welcome. Wonderful to see you here. Caitlin, Jenny says, I'm grateful, but I have not been writing out my gratitudes. Okay, so start again. I'm a big believer in beginning again. Just begin again. So if you didn't write them so far, you can write them today. No blame, shame. I'm not into that game. So I don't do blame, shame. So if you haven't been writing them, just start. Any day is a good day to start to be grateful. And so what starts to happen, and also in this circle of connection, as I see, most of you have had hard times in your life, right? You've had to traverse difficult periods in your life. God knows I have. I am both sorry and proud to say, right? I mean, it's just what it is. How do we get back on top? How do we not lose confidence in who we are? How do we have the resiliency to move forward and to be able to not let our past dictate our future, our present? So that, you are who you are today. Yes, we are the culmination of our past, but you know that you can rewrite your story on a daily basis. That's what we're doing here together today, right now. That's what we're doing when we write our gratitudes every day on the Facebook group. And thank you, thank you, thank you for those of you who are showing up. Thank you to those who show up every day. Thank you to those who show up occasionally, right? You're welcome to join us at any time. And for those of you who are doing it every day, what starts to shift? Start to notice. Are you feeling a little bit more energized? Are you starting to feel like you might start to see more possibility in your life? Because the more you focus on what's working, and that's in relationship to our topic today, the more you focus on love, well, the more your whole energy tends to move in that direction, the less you focus on what's not working. And that's just about the biggest secret of that sauce. Focus on what you want, right? What do they say? Focus goes where energy flows. So what are we focusing on? Where do you want your energy to move? Good morning, whoever is showing up right now. Welcome. Good morning. You can say hello in the comments if you would like. I always love to know who's here. So without further ado, we're going to move into what I'd like to share with you today in relationship to love and your spiritual life. And I am putting those two together. I'm talking about love. Hello, good morning, Christiane from Louisville. My sister-in-law and brother are here. I love it when they show up. I'm so glad you're here. All right, so I'm talking about the integration of love and your spiritual life, whatever that is for you. Because love, it's wonderful when we fall in love. It's wonderful when we meet the person of our lives, right? And that's really great. And then there's the honeymoon phase, and that's really awesome. And there's all the passion and lust, and it's extraordinary. And then you get to the 4, 5, 6, 7 year phase, right? And there's still passion and love, but it's settling in a little bit. It's not exactly as it was before. And then you go into the 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 potential year phase of your relationship. And if you make it that long, that's extraordinary. And then things change again. For many people, they have children. So now the focus goes towards raising a family, of course, making money, supporting the family. The dynamics and the focus, the intention changes. So what you were experiencing at the beginning of your relationship, the lust, love, passion, well, kind of shifted a little bit. And then if you're lucky enough to move beyond the 15-year phase into the 20, 25, 30, 35 or more year phase, which my brother and sister-in-law are in, amazing, right? Full, 3 beautiful children, full life. Then your relationship changes again. And so we adapt at different stages of our personal romantic relationships throughout our lives. A lot of the time, we can become best friends with our spouses over many, many years. Now, I don't have 30 years experience in this, but I can look at my brother and certainly, 45. Christian says 45 years together. 45 years. So this is awesome because, right, I can look at them and I can see how far they've come, the kind of life they have today, the kind of love that they share today, and how much their hearts have opened up based on their relationship with their children, certainly with me. I know. Yes. Wow, Jenny. Exactly. 45 years together. Jenny, how long have you been with your spouse? How many years? You've been, I think, together 15 years or something, I think. A long time. But I don't think anybody's going to beat my brother and my sister-in-law, 45 years. So why is this important? 20 years. Jenny has been with her partner for 20 years. So we have some long-time relationships on this call. Sophia and Pranjal, how long have the two of you been together? At least I'm thinking maybe 7, 8 years, maybe more. Let us know. How many years have you been together in your relationship? So we have 45 years, the winner so far. And then we have Jenny and her partner for 20 years, right? So why am I bringing this up? Because this week I wanted to look at what's your love and your love life and your spiritual life. What did that look like in 2022 for you? And where in those areas might you be able to grow yourselves, both in love and in your spiritual life? What might you want to invest in more in 2023 in terms of your love? Oh, Pranjal writes 8 years. Okay, Sophie and Pranjal have been together 8 years. Thank you, Pranjal. Wonderful. So we have a variety. Let me check my other equipment here. There we go. So we have 45, we have 20, we have 8 years. So next year, for you who are in relationships, what are some areas in your relationship that you'd like to expand upon? Or maybe not. Maybe you're just in a really cool, smooth sailing place in your life and you feel very comfortable, and that maybe your spiritual life is what might be calling you to develop in 2023. I know for me, Jenny says, I would like to invest in staying awake past 9 p.m. Yeah, I hear that. Well, you have 3 children. Certainly you have 2 at home. One is in college. You have 2 at home. I don't know. Like, I start to fall asleep also pretty early these days. Like 10, 10:30, I'm out. So I hear you. And I don't have children at home, Jenny. So you win on that one. So 2023, where might you want to expand your personal relationship with your spiritual connection, whether that's an energy, whether that's in nature, whether it's prayer, whether you're connected to God, whether you're connected to a more spiritual path, a universal path, some meditation time, some chill out time. And, of course, that's related to your health. So we talked about that last week, right? The regulation of your vagus nerve. So do you see how all of these things flow one into the other? Mind, body, spirit, emotion. So we're looking at all of those categories in this work to see where are the pieces for you next year, potentially, that you might want to add a little bit of spices, or you might want to move back. You might take a step back and just kind of release something. And especially if it's something related to your past that is no longer serving you. Sometimes we stay attached to relationships that no longer serve us. And that's because they're habit, they're habitual. Sometimes it's family members, and we don't know how to take space from those people. Sometimes it could be some friendships that need to be laid to rest for a little while. And one of the things that I like to practice myself is that when I feel like I need to make some shift, like, it, you feel when something is off. There are some people in our lives that we can love from afar. We don't need to be so close to them because we've changed, right? We all grow, we change, we evolve. It's not always necessary to be so close. And when we decide to, I call it the breathing out, right? So you have your first tier of people very close to you, right? So think about this. The 5 closest people to you are you. The 5 closest people to you are you. So do a little mental check in right now and see who are the 5 closest people to you. And you look at those 5 closest people and see if those are people in your life that support you, that encourage you, that are forward thinkers, that ignite your existence by being supportive, by acknowledging you, by engaging with you, by being present for you. And if those people do that, then you're probably doing a pretty good job at becoming the kind of person you want to be every day, because you are surrounded with the type of people that you want around you. Now, there might be, for some of you, 1 or 2 people in that close circle that, when you think about it, they're not meant to be in that close tier anymore. Potentially, you could breathe them out to the second tier. It doesn't mean that they are not important. It doesn't mean that you don't love them. It just means that sometimes we change, we evolve, we grow. And those 5 people, the closest people to you, if they are not people that are really rooting for you, that are people who bring something to your life to expand your heart space, to make your life a better place, you might want to do a little review. Who are the 5 closest people to you? Meaning, who do you speak to every single day? Who do you go to for support? So think about that for a moment and see if it's possible. Maybe next year you want to breathe out a couple of those people because they're not really fitting the puzzle anymore. And that's okay. We change, things change, and we can have different and new people in our lives. So I'd love to see from you in the comments, are there any people in your life that you don't have to name them, doesn't have to get specific, but are there any people in your life, the closest to you, that you might want to breathe out a little bit? Would 2023 be a good time for you to make more space for new people in your life that might be able to support you better, to encourage you better? So let me know in the comments, can you think of 1 person or 2 people who are close to you that you could breathe out a little bit? You don't eliminate them. That's not what I'm saying. But they might not need to be so close to you. And I'll tell you, I certainly have had to do this over the past couple of years for myself. And it's not always easy to do it, just so we're clear. It's not always easy to do it. And sometimes it takes time to readjust and to welcome new people in. And for me, it has been a very important exercise because it has changed the quality of my life, even though it was not easy to make those decisions. But there was no other option. You know what I mean? Like after a while, you start to feel this. It's like, I can respect and love this person, but I just don't need them so close to me anymore. Jenny asked the question, what if you don't have five in your first tier? Okay, Jenny, great question. So maybe some of you can't even think of five people in your closest surrounding. Um, you have five, Jenny. You have five. You have to go a little bit beyond what you might be thinking of as the closest one. So let's say of your five people, your spouse, maybe one friend, maybe one of your children's teacher, maybe the person at the dojo that you connect with. Do you see what I mean? You might have to expand the way you think of the five closest people to you, because I know what you mean. You might not have five very intimate people close to you, but give it some thought. Like, your spouse, maybe a friend. I can be one of those friends, by the way, just so we're clear. You might have someone at the dojo. You might have someone as one of your Maeve's teachers, something like this. So think about the people who are closest to you in that way if you don't have like super intimate people. Does that make sense? Great. Yeah. So now you have five. Perfect. Pranjal says, I just breathed out one this year. Great job. So Pranjal, you breathe one out this year. So is there a free slot? Is there still a free slot for you of those five closest people so that you can breathe one in? We breathe one out and then there's a space to welcome another person in. So maybe that space has not been taken yet. And that's good, because then we're allowing for the rhythm of life to bring us who we need to have closer to us. And also you choose them, right? Yes, you are always one of those people. Thanks, Jenny. You're one of those people too. So when we make space in our immediate circle, then it leaves space for new people to come in. And, there's a theory out there that it's very hard for adults to make new friends. There's a lot of writing about this. I certainly read a lot of stuff. And one of the things that shows up is, how can adults make new friends? Well, you can. Yeah. So Pranjal says, yes, there's a slot and it's easy to fill in. Just a good person. Exactly. Right. So I would say a great person, an amazing person, someone, how I think about it, Pranjal? I think about it this way. Whenever I want to bring someone new in my circle, I think of someone who is quote unquote better than me. What do I mean by better? I mean, they have more life experience. They have more, they've traveled to places I've never gone to. They have a different education than I do. They usually make more money than I do. They have a healthy, loving relationship and family. I look at the top tier of what for me signifies something that I want to aspire towards. So I don't just want a good person in my immediate circle. I want amazing people in my immediate circle. And I'm very, very fortunate because I have really an amazing family. And my siblings, I consider them all to be close, very close to me, because I think about them all the time. I aspire. I look at what they've done with their lives. And it's interesting because we're all very different. And at the same time, they are all people that make me want to become better. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I wanted to share a little bit on this topic of love and your spiritual life. So the first thing I want to share with you is this really, really awesome book that I recommend to Pranjal. Makes sense. Thank you. This is a really, really great book, Living Untethered by Michael A. Singer. Take a screenshot. Take a screenshot. Amazing, amazing book. And I want to read you something from this amazing book. And it's chapter 22. And it's why the heart opens and closes. If you want to know your heart, first and foremost, understand that you are not your heart. You are the experiencer of your heart. You are the consciousness that is aware when emotions are taking place. When love shoots up inside of you and you say you're in love, what you really mean is that you feel love coming up from your heart and bathing you. That's really beautiful. You're floating in the ocean of love, but you're not the love you feel. You are the experiencer of the love you feel. I love this. So, what is he saying? That we are actually the experiencer of the love we feel. But this is true about everything. We are also the experiencer of the anger. We are also the experiencer of the joy. We are not the joy or the love or the anger itself. Several classes ago, we had a class on neutrality, neutral space. And this is a big concept that I work with every day with clients in their bodies. So I talk a lot about the midline. So the midline of your body is the center of your body. So on an anatomical level, we're talking about your spine in particular. That's a big part of the structure. And a lot of the times we forget that the spine is a three-dimensional anatomical structure. It's not just the back. Your spine has sides and it has a front space. It's a three-dimensional, very solid piece of bone, right? With your vertebra, of course, you have your discs that are softer, but it's a very solid casing because inside of your spine is your spinal cord. There's one big spinal cord in there. And inside of the spinal cord, there are all these tiny, tiny little spinal cords. So essentially, what you are feeling from the outside, your relationship to the outer world, is really detected by your deep inner world, not just spiritually, physically, physiologically, anatomically. That's how we're built. So if I use that analogy and I bring it into the relationship of love and your spiritual life, what is it that might support you externally from the outside world that you could bring to your midline and feel, have the emotion? So for me, for example, I love to be out in nature. It's one of my favorite things. And when I go outside in nature, I am revived, I am nourished, so that my actual nervous system gets regulated. And at the same time, when this regulation occurs, there's a higher chance for us to become more neutral. And what that means is neutrality is a beautiful thing because it gets you out of having to endure very deep emotional transformations. When you have a practice of love, when you have a connection with your spiritual life, it's very easy to bring yourself back to center, to this place of neutrality, so that you're not pulled by emotions that arise within you. As Michael Singer shared, we are the experiencer of the emotion and we are not the emotion itself. Does this make sense? If it does, put a 1 in the comments so I know that you're tracking with me, that we're together here. So this is super important, again, because if you can get into a practice of this expanded relationship to love that is tied in with a spiritual practice or a relationship to a spiritual practice, yeah, awesome. Bonjour. Ah, salut Karine. Yay. My niece Karine is here. Now, Karine is my brother's and sister-in-law's daughter. So I have 3 family members here with me today. Salut Karine, je suis très contente que tu sois ici. Welcome. Okay, so this is making sense. Good, thank you for responding. Okay, so back into the love and the spiritual self. What I want you to invite you into as we start the new year, especially for those who are in relationships with spouses, but this is for everyone. How can you deepen your personal romantic love by integrating more of that spiritual connection? And what that looks like is you are your own person. You are one person. You are connected to your midline. You have a space for yourself to be neutral. And why that's important is because it's so easy to get pulled out of our center when we're in relationship. Essentially, relationships are, um, I think, the best way for spiritual growth because you have someone mirroring you on a daily practice, right? I think I'm single now, and being single is, I think, much easier than being in a relationship because I just have myself to deal with. I don't have to deal with someone else. But I haven't always been single. And so I have come to understand that being in these types of relationships, romantic relationships, are really um, mirrors for one another, to grow from one another. And the reason why I want to encourage you to expand into this love and spiritual connection is because the more universal, the wider our love becomes, the closer we can become as friends, as family, as lovers. Does that make sense? The wider that your heart opens, the more connected you are to a spiritual life, the closer you can get to the person that you love. There's more intimacy because your view of love is a much larger view. It's not just the tiny tit for tat, me for you love. Jenny says, I've learned about the midline, crossing the midline, a very important developmental skill. And if one struggles to cross the midline, it is an indicator that the sides of the brain aren't working properly. So emotions can struggle to cross the midline too. That's a question. Yes, of course. Very good, Jenny. Yes, emotions can struggle to cross the midline. And in the way that you're sharing it, you can look at it as um, when emotions cross the midline is because you understand that you are not the emotion. You are having the experience of the emotion. Does that make sense? And there are different interpretations of the midline as well. So I'm talking about the midline from, of course, an anatomical physiological perspective, because I've done lots of dissections. And so that's one part. It's a very tangible, pragmatic, real midline. Then there is the midline of feeling a sense of connection to oneself. Caitlin, thank you. Okay. Yeah, you're welcome. Right. And then there's spiritual midline. There's a sense of connectivity that occurs in our center. So when we feel centered and grounded, we're not pulled from one side to the other. We are able to manage our emotions with more success. You don't lose your patience when you're in your midline. You tend to be more tolerant when you're in your midline. And when you add a healthy dose of universal love, meaning that your initial way of being in life is to be loving, it doesn't mean, so it's an important distinction here. It doesn't mean that your heart is open, you know, to everyone, like you have this big open heart. No, that can be dangerous as well. We don't want to do that. However, if the tendency is that your disposition is to have a loving outlook on life, if you practice seeing the glass half full as opposed to half empty, right? It ties in with optimism. Usually people who tend to be loving, a happy-go-lucky type of person is what we'll say. Well, people like that tend to not focus so much on worrying a lot of the time. They focus more on not worrying, which means they're focusing on the glass half full. And that, my friends, is a practice. It is a practice. It's not like you're born seeing the glass half full. It's something that you practice every day, which is why we are doing our daily writing of 5 gratitudes on the Duchenne Method Facebook group page. So if you're not doing that, join us. Just come in and write your 5 gratitudes per day. And you know what's so great about that exercise is because it supports one another. It's very healing to see each other's gratitudes. It gives you an insight into someone else's life. Okay, Jenny says, okay, no. So no neutrinos. Whoops, I'm not sure what neutrinos is, honey. Okay, so no neutral midline causes dysregulation. So neutral midline causes, no, neutral midline is regulatory. When you are neutral in your midline, and I want to be careful, Jenny, because I don't know that we're talking about the same midline, the same concept. I'm talking of the midline from an osteopathic perspective. So I'm not sure what you're talking about in terms of midline, but no, what I'm talking about is that when we get connected to our midline, it regulates our nervous system. That is related to the vagus nerve. How do we regulate the vagus nerve, our midline? By calming down, by meditating, by listening to soft music, by rolling on a roller, a foam roller, rolling on balls on your back, because as soon as your back touches the floor, when you're lying down, our horizontal position, it is an immediate regulator for the nervous system. Jenny, not in all cases, right? We understand that. It's not in all cases. For the most part, we can regulate the midline through calming down the vagus nerve. How do we calm down the vagus nerve? We meditate, we go out for a walk, we listen to soothing music, we practice writing our gratitudes. Yes, I'm trying to tie what you're saying into the knowledge I have, and this is fascinating. Awesome. Great. Thank you, Jenny. Great questions, by the way. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to leave you today with a few ways that your spiritual love could change your life. And you might want to take notes if you want, or obviously this is recorded, so you can always check back here. But here are a few ways that spiritual love can change your life. The first is you're going to develop more meaningful relationships based out of true respect and out of true love, and not so much about, hey, what can you do for me? That's one of the biggest things. It's kind of this altruistic way of being in the world, where you develop deeper, more meaningful relationships when you really establish it on how you might contribute to another. Now, again, be mindful. I'm not saying to contribute to another who is an energy vampire, right? Let's be clear. We don't want to be around energy vampires, people who keep asking, or people who tend to be negative, or there's always problem in their life. There's a lot of drama around them. These are not the type of people with whom we want to cultivate healthy relationships, right? We want to cultivate healthy relationships first and foremost with ourselves and with people who are generous, with people who acknowledge us, with people who engage with us on this level, like this type of conversation. And we have to sometimes go out and find those people. But the way to go out and find those people is to become that person first. Does that make sense? Give me a 1 in the comments if that makes sense. If you want to attract that perfect relationship or beautiful people in your life, you have to become that person first. You have to be the one who contributes first and not keep looking for what others can do for you. Okay? Yeah, give me a 1 if that makes sense, if you understand this. So this is about leveraging ourselves. Everything that I teach and I do is about self-leveraging in a kind and loving way. Another way that spiritual love can change your life is that, and this is very important, is that resentments will fade away. Your resentments or regrets will fade away. Eventually disappear entirely due to diminished expectations of others and yourself. 2023, I'm going to throw down a challenge for you. Expect less from others. Expect less from others. You show up the best version of yourself as you possibly can. Be mindful of expectations. And I want to share with you that I have really profound experience in this. I am someone who has very high expectations. And sometimes my expectations were channeled inappropriately. And so what happens when my expectations are not met, I'm disappointed. Today, I understand that I am the creator of those expectations. So I put that onto someone else because I expect them to be a certain way. That's because I have unrealistic ideas of how another person could be. And when that happens and they don't meet my expectations that I have put upon them, I get disappointed. Do you resonate with this? Give me a 1 in the comments. Have you ever put expectations on another based on what you want, not based on who the other person is or what they can do, but on what you want them to do? And because they fail at it, you get disappointed. Can anyone resonate with this? Thank you. Sophia says 1. Jenny says 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Yeah. So Jenny approves, right? So this is so important. Be mindful of the expectations you put on another person, on your students, on your clients, on your spouse, on your family members. This is why coming from a place of compassion, listening, becoming really excellent listeners, it's the practice. But the more we do that, the less we impose an expectation on another and the less disappointed we are. And so therefore, when we practice this effectively, there is very little resentment. There's very little regret. There's very little hardship or tension because there's no expectation. So notice if you have a tendency to do this. Okay, another one. Clearly you'll discover you need less to be happy. So happiness is an inside job, isn't it? So we need less to be happy when we are spiritually connected to love, to our center. We need less in life, materially, even emotionally, you need less. You don't need all of that attention and support in that way. You might need it from a few key people. Remember those 5 closest people to you? Those are the ones that you want to tap into to get support. And to be sure that those that you tap into for support, that you also reciprocate in the like. The world will seem a lot more peaceful no matter what's going on around you. This is a really big one. Listen, it's a tough time in the world right now. It's just what it is. I had a brand new client last week, young man, 19 years old, wonderful, bright, aware, very communicative. Obviously, he's already done a lot of work and at the same time has a lot of anxiety in his life. And, you know, I really feel for this younger generation who have been brought up with technology. Technology, iPhones, social media is undoubtedly one of the top anxiety creators in the world. There's so much information out there. You can scroll to your heart's content. There's always something to compare yourself with. So if you are struggling with social media, you have to become a master of yourself. You have to take yourselves by the horns. Se prendre en main. Se prendre en main. You have to grab yourself and you simply have to put your phone down and you simply have to stop scrolling on social media. Diminish your time on social media. I go on social media for my work. I go because I post, because I do my 5 gratitudes. So I've transformed my relationship with it where I do something that I'm hoping can help others and is useful. I rarely spend any time on social media scrolling. It happens occasionally, but it's rare because what I start to find is that I get deregulated. I get anxious. if I'm on social media for too long. So to be super mindful of this, I see this in my practice a lot more since COVID and a lot more with younger people. It's hard because there's been such a disconnect of being socially engaged and participating that it's been really hard for the younger generation to actually learn socialization skills. So if you have someone in your life that you love, I know that a lot of you on this call today, you have children, you have people who are very involved in sports. I would say that's the number one thing. Get those people, talk to the people you love that you feel are anxious, you included, of course, all of us, to really focus on doing something that takes us out of having to be on electronics. Sports, being out in nature, walking, going outside. This is the ultimate self regulator. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Okay, a couple more. The world will seem a lot more peaceful no matter what's going on around you. As you develop a more altruistic view, you'll find happiness and peace is the reward. So, do you want a little bit more peace in your life in 2023? Do you want to simplify? This is what I'm doing. I'm really trying, really diligently, even though I'm doing these lives and I have a business and a practice, my focus is to simplify in 2023 and to simplify even though I'm growing my audience base. How do we do that? Carefully. We do that by regulating our nervous systems, by staying grounded, and to really practice, to start to entertain the idea of spiritual love, of a love that is deep, that's connected, and also that you can maintain your sense of individuality, especially in couples' loves, so that you can actually continue to support each other at a higher level. Okay. Good participation. Thank you. I want to invite all of you to continue to write your gratitudes on the Duchenne Method Facebook group page next week, next Monday, on the 19th. Our topic for next week is about finances. It's about looking at last year, about how you have done with your finances last year, and what we might want to project for 2023. I will be out of internet service next week. Now, I'm still working on trying to be in internet service, but if I am out of internet service next week, I am going to pre-record next week's session that you can find on the Duchenne Method Facebook group page. I'm going to upload it there, and I'm going to upload it to YouTube. So stay tuned this week to find out. I'm not sure. I know that where I'm going to be is not going to be great connection already. So I'm either going to pre-record it, or if I can find a spot that is live, then I will do my live next Monday. But either way, there will be a class next Monday at 11 a.m., either live or recorded. All right, my friends, I want to leave you with this for this week. Write down, think about how you might want to expand your relationship to love and your spiritual life in 2023. Do you need to add more personal meditation time? Do you need to add more nature time? Do you need to add more time with your children? Do you need to maybe make a weekly date night with your partner? Do you need to maybe cook together more frequently? Whatever it is, start to think about that piece for 2023. Where can you tweak, engage, refine, increase, or in some cases, take away? And also think about those 5 closest people to you. Make sure that they are people who acknowledge, who engage, and who support you in your life, and vice versa. Everything that we're doing here is to uplift ourselves, is to become better humans, to bring more light into the world, into this crazy world we live in. And there's a lot of warriors of light like us in the world. So let's keep connecting with one another. You can always reach out to me on the Facebook group page. You can also make an appointment for a 30-minute complimentary consultation should you want to talk about anything personal, mind-body alignment, related. I'm still offering those. And in the meantime, I wish you a wonderful, wonderful week. I'll see you maybe next Monday. If I'm not live, I will have the recording there. Thank you for being here with me today. I appreciate you. I am grateful for you. And I'm going to be writing my gratitudes every day on the Facebook group page. So look out for those. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye. Take care. Love you all. Bye.